Hey y'all, it's Saturday, the 4th of February. Disclaimer, in this video I'm going to be talking about me, so you might just tune out now if you're not interested. Folks, I want to thank you all very much. Thank you very much. And it's why I'm making the video, because on Saturdays I don't necessarily always plan to make a video. It's like, take the weekend off, Dereck. And here I am talking. It's not that I need to take the weekend off or anything. It's just, break. But I said to myself last night, so anyway, let's just back it all up. Hello, everyone, family, friends, much love. Yesterday was the first Bandcamp Friday of 2023. It's my best yet. It was my best yet. Thank you all so very much for your support and your interest. Thank you to you folks who contribute, because you're buying the music, but you're spending more on it than the posted price. Thank you. Several of you are doing that. Thank you. I thought it was so I said to myself, if I'm still number one in the morning, I'll make a video. So I want to qualify why I do this to naysayers. So I don't do music to consciously I make music to make it. I'm not competing. I need to get more vegetables, get my memory together. Been working on going to do more. I hate the struggle for words like that. I understand there's a connection. Anyway, what I'm saying is that, the fact that I track at all stuff on Bandcamp regarding Nebraska and sales, it came about out of curiosity, and then out of being pleasantly surprised over the last year, finding out the actual amount of music that people are able to sell online, as opposed to the old days when I was, back in the 70s, million sellers and stuff, And so I had noticed for the longest time that my music partner, David Nance, would almost always end up with the best-selling title for the Bandcamp Friday of that month. He was doing a series of cassettes. He didn't do one this month, or at least I don't see a new one. But there's other folks like Bright Eyes and stuff, when they have these Bandcamp things where they're consistently in the top sales. And I've done pretty good. This is the first time that, I said to myself, if I wake up and I'm still number one, I was number one when I went to bed last night, I'm going to make a video and celebrate it. And I am. Thank you folks very much. To put it in perspective, I'm the number one seller in Nebraska for Bandcamp Friday. I'm shy of 100 sales. That's the reality of the music business, especially for independent artists, and because there's such a plethora. Really, there's too much music. Everyone's making music. Everyone has content. So we have undue choices. So to be a top seller doesn't, if I break 100 sales, not in dollars but numbers, that would be something. It was close. It's like, that's, wow, people, thank you, But that's the reality of the market for artists like us. A good. I'd feel good when I get 10 sales on a Bandcamp Friday, or in a month. I'm happy if I sell 5 to 10 items. So I haven't counted up, but it's over 50 sales yesterday. Wow. And you folks say you're liking it. You're listening. Because that's the other thing. I understand that many people don't have the time or take the time to really listen to music. But you can buy it as a as a act of support, and the music's there when you want to hear it. So thank you. I'm number one, and I'm going to enjoy it. And the other reason why I decided to do this is thinking again about the reality of the wheel of life. How every day, literally every day, I turn around, someone I know or someone I know of has passed away. And one of these days or nights, that's going to be me. So, and here's the reality of death. I've been listening to a lot of Yukihiro Takahashi from Yellow Magic Orchestra. That man was amazing. And I just went ahead and indulged and downloaded almost all of his albums that I can't get and get caught up in. Amazing artist. And he's gone. He's gone, so he received the plaudits and the platitudes and the recognition while he was alive. But now that he's gone, I dare say it seems like people are finding out about him that should have known when he was alive. Same thing will happen with me. I won't be here. Takahashi's not here. Bowie isn't here. Prince, those people aren't here to feel the love and to receive the recognition. So I'm going to talk about it now while I'm alive. And there's no reason not to. You get people who say, oh, you and it's like, whatever. I'm going to talk about me if I want to. I'm celebrating. Celebrating. Thank you so much, people. Thank you so much. I'm not in touch with FPE Records yet about the next vinyl, but we have a gentleman's agreement. I'll put it like that. That's an old term. Gentleman. Don't get hung up on gender. I'm just an old person who says these things. I don't mean anything sexist, but we have a gentleman's agreement for our next album. I learned from Prince, and I agree with him, don't do contracts. Don't be signing contracts. And licensing deals, I've done a couple. And I talked about one in my last video. And I'm wary of those, Make sure to read the fine print on those damn things. But thank you, folks, very much. Other thing I want to say, because I just riffed. Someone asked me, have I heard the Hiroshi Suzuki Cat album? I have it, To me, that's kind of run of the mill. It's a good album. No offense. It's a good album, but that's more typical Japanese following Western style. The people I'm talking about, in my mind, in my ears, they're a cut above. It's like, this is some of the finest music, and they're not imitating anybody. They incorporate Western as well as Eastern influences, but the writing and the performance is just fantastic. Takahashi, Sakamoto, Hosono, 3 of the best in the world. And speaking of, I'm really glad to hear that Siouxsie, formerly of Siouxsie and the Banshees, is going to be doing some live dates this year. Saw her at the first Lollapalooza when they were touring this album, Superstition, and she had Talvin Singh on tablas in the band, as well as the rest of the great band members. They were mesmerizing. They were fantastic, and they were the best, for me, the best part of the show. I saw Ice-T, Rollins Band, Nine Inch Nails, Jane's Addiction. They blew them away with their presence and their music. She was regal. She was larger than life. I love Siouxsie and the Banshees anyway. I really like this album a lot. Very good album. She's a good example of someone who invented herself. She was just a kid following she was part of the Bromley contingent. Just a bunch of kids following the bands, doing something, having something to do, and here she is, an international recording star. A very good one. Is there anything else to show here? A couple things, yeah. Bernard Zajner, French musician and also light expert. He made this album in 1980, Some Deaths Take Forever. It's kind of an oddity. It's got members of Magma on it, but it's primarily electronic, and yet it has the Magma flavor with the vocals and some of the writing. Interestingly, many years ago, I somehow ended up in contact with Bernard Zajner, and he was just real down to earth and just said, I'm not in love with the music industry, and frankly, that record of mine that you had, it did nothing, and I don't have good memories of it. He was really kind of a sourpuss, but he explained it because I came on like, oh, this is very cool and stuff, and he said, yeah, you're the only person. That record died a death. So he didn't want to hear a whole lot of BS from one person. It's an interesting album. It's kind of an in-between album. It is. It's like it's on its way. The music sounds like it's on its way to something, but it's not there yet. Interesting. Hadn't listened to Larry Fast of Synergy for a long time. I keep these records, but they have dated, and a lot of the stuff is tweaked, and it's not much better than background music. No offense, Larry, for the most part. When it first came out, it was different, This is a good one, Audion by Synergy. And this is a compilation of stuff. Semiconductor. These are worth it. I mean, if you like that sort of, I'm going to leave it like that. Synergy, Synergy. And here's the one that Peter Gabriel provided some input on this one. Chords. An early clear. Interestingly, this is not a collector's item at all, but the collectible version of this is the black vinyl that apparently you can find the clear vinyl more easily than a black vinyl. Of the Synergy albums, I probably like this one the best. And it does have some of that Peter Gabriel flavor. He was in Peter Gabriel's band in the early days. Got to meet him when he was out on the road with Tony Levin and Jerry Marotta with Tony Levin's band. They were all really nice people. And then I listened to some of Games by Synergy. This stuff is good, so if you see it used, like I bought a lot of these used over the years for $2 and $3. They're worth that. They are. The other thing that I got into, a couple things. I did actually play a couple records yesterday besides house cleaning and some writing. I do write. I would call it poetry, but it's mostly just, sometimes I'll have things, I think I say things, well, I don't think, people tell me I say things well all the time, and I get quoted. This has been going on for years. I'll find that people quote me. I mean, they repost my posts or take things I said. Sometimes people will actually ask, can I repost? I don't even really care. If I say something that makes sense, pass it on, please. But I write words as well as music, and I do have folders. But this is something I listened to in part yesterday. I'm going to keep it. It's not something I would necessarily recommend except that cover. Isn't that cover cool? Paul Masse, Butterfly Lake. This is a folk pop album. It is not in any way psychedelic. Even the words are not psychedelic. It's straight ahead, telling stories, love songs. There is a wistful feeling to the album, and I like the arrangements. They are kind of like Bob Lynn's Elusive Butterfly. Remember that song? Or Scott McKenzie, Wear Flowers in Your Hair. It's in that area. And the title track, which is kind of a sad song actually, if I understand the words, Um, yeah, but it's catchy. I'm looking here at some of the no musicians credited here. I'd be curious who's playing on this. Probably some people. It's pretty good. Like I said, it's not highly recommended, but and I didn't get all the way through because it started to sound samey. Excuse me. You know what I mean? Everything started to sound the same. The other thing I got into yesterday, and again, this is a person. This is my idea of someone I would like to see championed by the mainstream for everyone. But I'm thinking of Black History Month in the back of my mind. I'm going to try to remember to make a comment about that. Moor Mother, Fetish Bones. This is very black centric, but it's very wise. Not but and it is very wise. It's not unnecessarily angry. It's very focused. And it's a necessary message, especially these days. So, the last thing I want to try to get out before I forget it is a comment about Black History Month, because February is Black History Month. And I, for one, have been not a naysayer, but a critic of the hypocrisy of what Black History Month actually means to the country, what it means to some of us as individuals. That's one thing. But when you look at what's going on with the conservatives, with the right-wingers, what's going on with the suppression of actual history, the garbage going on in states like Florida, the idea of Black History Month it's a joke. Black lives, people don't matter. Number one, we know that. People do not matter to the ruling class. We are fodder for their cannon. But black people, continually, we're at the bottom of the hill. We are not regarded equally in society. Even though we have a lot of black people in high positions now, and black people making big money, and all that, we're still not regarded on the same level as the white privilege that I grew up with. And so, how is Black History Month supposed to actually be making any sense now? With regard to our leadership in particular. Like I said, on an individual level, we celebrate as we see fit. And so, one of the ways that I'm celebrating it is, I did it on Facebook yesterday, and I'm calling attention to myself. But talk about Black history. Here in Nebraska, even at my age, I'm compared to other rockers. I'm in my 60s. I'm not in my 70s or 80s, but I'm still like a first when it comes to rock music in Nebraska, which in a way is sad. And what I'm saying is, think about how many black rock and roll musicians that you know from Nebraska. There's Buddy Miles. Okay, there's other folks. Okay, and the thing about Buddy Miles is that he left. Okay, now I've stayed in Nebraska and I've established a name for myself. I have, beyond that, what I'm trying to say is, here in Nebraska, because of my natural interest in rock music, I'm a rocker. I've been in the game since the 70s, and it was newsworthy back then. This predominantly white band with this black bass player that's kicking everybody's ass. That was basically the news report that we got in the late 70s. And all throughout my years of playing and traveling and touring with many different bands and playing all over the state as well as the Midwest, so many times over the years, I was the one single person of color in the whole fucking building. And when it comes to actual bands, sure, there's been other black people playing rock music in Nebraska besides me and before me, but I stayed here And I've established a name and helped to, I know that I've helped to encourage other people of color here in Nebraska to get involved outside of the expected, thing that you do. You know, black people don't have to be in a soul band. I don't have to be a rapper. You know what I'm saying? I love all those things, but I embrace it all. And when I was a kid, the effect that the Beatles had on me, Ed Sullivan, that was a life-changing moment. It's like, I want some of that. I want some of that energy. I am that. I am part of that. Beatlemania, not the Beatlemania, but the thing that Beatlemania came from. The freshness of youth culture, this new wave of music breaking away from the old standards. I'm a part of that. And I'm a part of that history here in Nebraska. I'm in the Nebraska Music Hall of Fame, which is the state version of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It may not mean anything to anyone in this state or anywhere else, but it is a fact that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in every state is really an extension of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I'm in it. And I'm happy about that, proud of it. I know my folks would be happy and proud. I was looking back at I can't find it right now, but there's a bio sheet, a real old bio sheet of my dad's that my sister Adrian somehow came across. And on it lists some people he's played with who I always forget. I always remember to say T-Bone Walker, but I forget that he played with people like Lee Konitz. And there were some others I forgot already. He played with Johnny Griffin. But one of his goals that's written on the paper there, he said one of his life's goals was to raise his sons to be the men that they want to be. You did it, Dad. And he's gone. So people will say these things like, well, he's in the ether. He hears you from the heavens. We say that. We don't fucking know. To me, it makes sense that when you die, the spark of life that you had returns to the field of potentiality, like quantum physics is talking about. There's no tiny particle. There's this field, and particles are waves at the same time. That's what happens when you die. So I'm celebrating and talking about myself and telling you while I can. Enjoying it too, All right, people. So that's what I'm going to blab about today. Have a good day.